to talk about all things related to shrinking, but first I want to ask Jessica if you'll be my therapist.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody
I would love it. And you get a therapist. And, and it's me. Just kidding.
I'm kidding, but I say that because I appreciate your character so much. You keep it so real, doesn't she? And you say the things that I would say, actually. And I think also that the audience actually is thinking in their mind, not just because I'm a black woman and you're a black woman, but I also think because you just are so real and thoughtful in your characterization of this woman, Gabby. Your inflection, your voice, how you present her in the story.
Thank you. That's very nice. Thank you.
Gabby is observant. She's very much alive, and she grows more vibrant with every episode. So my question for you is, how much of what we see on screen is from your own imaginings of the character and what the writers have given you to portray?
Thank you for all those compliments. It's hard to take a compliment, right? Sometimes. So I was feeling my body. I was feeling a little uncomfortable, but we got through it. Yeah, I was like, ooh, uh-oh, generational trauma. But thank you. Receive. Thank you. Because you're an amazing actress, so it means a lot. But with Gabby in season 1, when I signed on, they didn't really know who the character was. But the blueprint, I had a couple of directives so we reverse engineered her. One was that they wanted her to be a therapist that people wanted. They wanted of the three, because her and Harrison's character, Paul, and Jason's character, Jimmy, all work in the same office. They wanted Gabby to be completely opposite of them. So Jimmy in season 1 is in this really deep grief, and Harrison is also and Paul is also in a really deep grief of his body and his Parkinson's. And so they wanted Gabby to be this light where people are like, where can I find a therapist like that? And so to me, when I showed up, it was sort of listening. I was just like, okay, I'm going to listen to what Jason's doing and what Harrison's doing, and I'm going to play the opposite of that. But what also helped was amazing writing, and oftentimes I use the story is the most important.
As a gateway.
100%. And like my guideposts, and I use the lines, and then I always like over prepare. And then I like to show up with alts and everything. And
so did you have a director that was particularly helpful to you season 1, or did you
yeah.
all of your work sort of culminated in your very specific experience of bringing that character forward?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was nice because Bill Lawrence, the show was created by Bill Lawrence, Brett Goldstein, and Jason Segel, and they all wanted, their yes was a really strong yes to me. Jessica Williams is the actor. And I got really lucky with those 3 white guys because they didn't, it's true, you never know, but they didn't police like my tone or my inflections or anything. Bill's deal on his shows is he's like, I want to, give the actor the character. And then he said, if he's doing his job right, we become the shepherds of our character. And so they sort of refer to us, which was really nice. And he said that from the beginning. And so very quickly in the first few episodes of season 1, Gabby wasn't really in it as much, but we knew she'd come into her own later on. And so it became this really gorgeous sort of call and response where I would look at the writing and I would be like, oh, I'm going to add a couple of things here. And that stuff really worked. And then the writers would see the dailies and then they would write from that. And then I would take that and then I would add on to that. So we did this kind of yes and where by the time you get to episode 8 in season 1, you kind of get a really strong sense of who
Yeah, absolutely. So you weren't walking in there sort of campaigning for this idea, for that idea. It really was a collaborative effort between you and the writers' room.
Yes, but I do campaign. I just make sure I read the script, but I also trust my instincts. Like when I sign on to a job, we're a team and I want this whole show to be better. And Gabby is support. And so for me, I'm sorry I didn't ask if a director did. It was all the directors. We have a bunch of directors and we all had the same idea. You can do so much stuff and it will never make it to the screen, so it has to pass through editors, it's passed the director, they had to kind of tamper it, but I don't have that on this show. So I'm very lucky because that's not every job. And with her, it's just a matter of, I want people to feel like with my style that there's an aliveness happening and that she's an alive person happening on screen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very much.
And so 100% of that comes from focusing on my listening to Krista who plays Liz on the day, or listening to Michael Urie who plays Brian, and responding to them differently the way that Gabby would. But it's nothing else matters but the stakes of the scene, and I think I just try and take it line by line, day by day. That's it.
And so I know you have a writing background.
Yeah.
So so when you went in there in the scenes, because it feels so real, like natural, like all these characters are so like you have a sense that they're actually speaking from their heart and from their head in the moment. So was any of it improvised, or was a lot of it improv, or were you guys actually going from the page and whatever?
Yeah, our style on this show, it really works when you can't remember where your improvisations were and where the writing is. There's a really great scene in season 1 where Gabby walks in on Paul and Julie. And she is so shocked because she's picking up Paul to take him to the office, and she's just like,
we love that scene.
Yeah,
it's such a good scene.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff too, even in season 2, where I'll be like, oh yeah, and then I improvise, he like thumbs in his butt, and then in my mind, Zach Braff told me to say that, but Zach Braff is like, no, I didn't tell you to say that, and so I don't remember. But it's like this, when the show is working really well, it's like this really nice mesh of everyone's kind of yes-anding each other. And what's the way that improv on screen works, because I did Upright Citizens Brigade, and I came from something called comedy sports, which is like Whose Line Is It Anyway, theater sports. And, anybody can improvise. And a lot of times you'll see comedians or comics, they'll do some improv, and it's like they suck up the whole room, or they're just focusing on running these jokes. But on our show, it's important to do the improv in the context of the story. The story is the most important, and so that's why in the beginning we were talking, those guardrails are important, because it's not the you show, it's like the us show. And when Shrinking is singing, and especially for comedy, when Michael Urie walks on screen, you're like, holy shit, I love that guy. And then when you see Ted McGinley, you're like, oh my God, I love that guy. Every person is a band, and everyone is staying in their lane, playing their parts and dancing and painting and doing it in their own rhythm.
That's so hard to build in an ensemble. Yeah. How'd you guys find that? Was that really just the serendipity of you guys coming together? Was it trickled down from Jason and Brad and Bill, or was it all of you guys just sort of bond? I mean, do you guys do like zip zap zop?
I know, right? Zip zap zap.
Do you do any theater games?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
no, you don't do theater
I know,
games.
kind of though, because we're on night shoots right now. We're shooting season 3, and I was with them till like 3 a.m. last night, and it was really fun, and it was like summer camp. I wish I could tell you what was happening, but I can't. But it's gonna be so good. But one of the fun things that I get to do is, with Gabby in her position on the show, she gets to hang out with the 2 Dereks, and the 2 Dereks are Damon Wayans Jr. and Ted McGinley, and they are absolute lunatics. And so, but last night, Damon's going to yes and what Ted's going to yes and I'm going to yes and it. So I think it's also a matter of just not being a dick. Like, so many actors, like you guys know, like you get to set, and from number 1 on the call sheet down, it's like, this actor's a dick. He's using method, but in a shitty way. Like, I hate that bullshit. Like,
use your method in a good way.
In a good way. Like,
not for evil.
No, like, shut your goofy ass up. Like, I hate that shit. And it's not that serious. Like, acting, like, there's a joy in the work, I hope. And I think on our show, what we're seeing is like a sense of play. That's what I thought about last night, is because we're all so playful. And that's coming down from Jason to Bill to Brett. They set that tone of, let's yes and let's play. Like, don't be a dick, especially not for comedy, which a lot of guys can be. Yeah. And there's the best thing that we got. I feel like something happened in between season 1 and 2 where people saw season 1 and they loved it, but then season 2, now people love the show, which is great.
Why do you think that happened?
I think we really got the characters are really established in season 2, and so we have this mix and match of, like, if you're watching Ted McGinley and Michael Urie, or you're watching Jason and Harrison, and you're watching Harrison and Krista, it all works however you mix and match us. And we really figured out who these characters are. But the best feedback that I get about the show is people are like, I wish it was real. I wish I could hang out with these people. And I always used to have that, like, with The Simpsons. Like I always wanted to, I wish I lived in Springfield. Like that's the sign of a really good sitcom.
Yeah.
You know, or like 30 Rock. I'm like, God, I wish I was there with them on set. But like, I think that's the sign of a show. But a lot of it is us just really like loving each other and respecting each other. And that doesn't happen on every show.
Good writing, and also writers who
Great
actually like the characters. They give them interesting things to do. Okay, I'm already off of my list of
It's
questions.
fine. It's fine.
So I've seen you on The Daily Show.
Yeah.
I've seen you on Two Dope Queens with Phoebe Robinson, who I friggin'
I
love.
know,
That
she's
was
the
such a
best.
great show.
Thank you very much.
babes.
Thank you very much. It's funny with, I know, me too, but it's like when you're, I was always an actor,
Yeah.
but when you do The Daily Show, you're a correspondent, and then you do podcasting, it's like you're a person commenting on other people's lives, and casting directors, bless them, see you as a, they're like, do you want to work the red carpet and interview actors? And it's like, no, I don't want to interview Jessica Chastain. I want to do shit with her. So you kind of have to, I had to be like, oh no, I'm an actor. I want to be an actor. Like I'm not just interviewing actors. I've always been an actor with a comedy bent. And so the blessing was that from Two Dope Queens, where when we filmed our last 3 HBO specials.
That was in 2019.
Yeah, 2019.
That was like 6 years ago.
Which
you guys
is crazy.
Ever see Two Dope
I feel
Queens?
like after the pandemic.
What in the hell? You've got to go see
Yeah.
You've got to. Yes, there she is back there.
Yeah,
that one
that's my
person.
girl back there.
Me
She
and
said,
you.
and then she did this, which is the right.
Three of us know Two Dope Queens.
Yeah, but basically it was a podcast that I did, and it was a live comedy show, and we would have these we would try to be really inclusive and have really diverse, amazing comics on the show. But a lot of it was standing on stage, doing improv, just talking. Like we didn't really have anything prepared. But between that and The Daily Show, I learned so much about comedic timing and stakes and killing jokes that are funny but don't necessarily fit, listening and rhythm. And so Gabby gets to be a culmination of, timing. I love timing. I think of it as a music. Like it's like a da 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 da, and you probably have that too as actors. When you read a good script, you're just like, oh, the dialogue is like singing. And so it's funny when all of those weird things that we've done as actors in our career can all sometimes come together on a perfect part. And it's really hard to get parts like this because there's not a lot, and it has to be, an X meets Y of society wanting to see it. The people at the top wanting to give a black actress a chance, not kind of policing tone, great writing, actors at the top that aren't being dicks with their method. And like, it's great because it's like, well, it's true. It's like with Jason and Harrison, they really love the work. And they've been acting for a long time, especially Harrison Ford. I mean, that's insane that I get to talk about safe dick with Harrison Ford. But it's cool. It's like they have to make a space for us as actors to be comfortable too, that are still coming up. And so a lot has to go right, and it's really hard to make a show.
And they're able to do that. And also, you were working in on Love Life with one of my favorite actors in the world, Will Harper.
I love him.
Who's
Yeah.
on season 4 of The Morning Show, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey.
Throw that in there.
Hey. Morning show. That was my first. I had in 2019, right when Two Dope Queens was over, my boyfriend died of an overdose, and I wasn't expecting that.
Damn.
Yeah, 2019 was
minute.
crazy. It was crazy for me.
Crazy.
So
And
I
then
took
we went
a
into the
year off.
pandemic.
Yes, but for the pandemic, I was already in a grief state, so I thought,
Good.
welcome, motherfuckers. Yeah, I was home. I took a year off, and I was like, well, which is terrible, but a part of me was already in that grief state. But so I took a year off of acting, and like my first job when I came back was, they were like, oh, we have this show called Love Life, and it's season 2, and I did a chem test with Will, and he was so great, and he's so gentle and so thoughtful that it was a really great job to come back to from that. And with Love Life, I think that was how I got Shrinking, was because one of the EPs on the show had seen Love Life season 2, which I had done after I stopped The Daily Show, stopped Two Dope Queens, and was like, no, I'm an actor. And that's what got me that job. But I've been really lucky to do rom-coms or romantic things as a 6 foot tall, like size 12, 14 black lady. Like I'm very surprised, and I get to play against these really smart, thoughtful, opposite, sweet, talented, funny men. that I get matched up against. And
Yeah,
it's
but I
been
also
really
think that's
great.
just because you're such an extraordinary talent. Like,
Oh,
you're so
thank you.
gifted.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make you cringe now. You're so
Yeah.
gifted.
Breathing through it.
Because you have a way of creating characters that toggle between pathos and tenderness and just laugh out loud funny moments because they are so authentic. It's so real. So what is your, in a room of actors or people who love actors, what is your process for bringing a character to life? How did you hear Gabby first or see her? Did you,
Yeah.
how did you feel that energy or presence that became Gabby?
Yeah, well, in retrospect, it was a lot of training, I guess. Now, I don't think I give myself enough credit sometimes about the work that I did. Like, I joined my high school improv team. I grew up in Torrance, and I got really lucky. My high school, we had football team, all that stuff, but we also had an improv team. And so I joined that. And the whole time I thought, this is, bullshit, whatever. This is just whatever what I do. But no, that really set the stage. Even doing musical theater in high school really set the stage. Like, one of the first lessons I got from my teachers when I was, in high school doing musical theater, they'd be like, I can fucking see you. I remember they'd say it. And they're like, I will throw my chanclas at you if you think I can't see you. You better smile. But that, like, committing to a bit, giving it 100%, or else this woman's gonna throw her sandal at you. Like, I still have that. And to me, I don't like, my process is I don't like cool. I like earnest. I don't like cool, like Met Gala. Like, I don't like bullshit. I really like earnestness. And so I try and do projects that reflect that. I like trying, and I like characters that try. And I always knew that with all the comedy and Two Dope Queens and The Daily Show, I can always do hard comedy, but I also knew I was an actor. And it's very rare that you get the opportunity to play a part where, with Gabby, I can stretch as hard into comedy as I want, but if they need me, I'm Johnny on the spot and can give the pathos if they want. And I really the reason why I want to do this job was because of Jason Segel, because he's really good at that. And I wanted to be able to watch him work, but also I wanted to be able to play against that and be able to expand and contract as much as he does. And so being able to watch him, it's like a nice reminder of that too. So my process is learning my lines, running my lines. And then when I get there on the day, if I'm with Harrison, I throw it away and I just I always have these alts in the back of my mind. They just pop up. Takes about 10 minutes, depending on the actor and me, to figure out what the scene is. Then I got it. Then I give Bill the lines as written, and then I just throw stuff in and out. Now, not all actors are the same. So the way that I do a scene with Harrison is different than the way I do a scene with Jason. So Harrison is like, he's just one of the greatest actors ever. And when I watch him work, it's like he'll take some time. He works like that. And he works like that, and he'll take some time. He's booting up, and then, but when he's here, you got to just meet him where he is. And when he's here, it's like watching a sunrise. It's like, oh, you're Han Solo, you're Indiana Jones, you're Blade Runner,
Actor,
you're
every
the guy.
character you've ever. Right.
Yeah. So with him, I'm just listening and I'm just watching. I'm witnessing him as Gabby. But then you have Jason, who is very cerebral, and we work very similarly, where I can just be like, beep, 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 and he's like, boppy doopy. And it's like, that's a different thing. Yeah. And then Krista, it's like, that's a different thing. But I really try and be mindful of who I'm working with. And I try and go, what do you want to do? Let's do it. Because then it's just good energy that you're putting out there. And also they feel good. And also they feel good. So I feel good. And then I walk away. And then I try and have a full life also. Like, this business is really hard. So I try and make sure that I have friends and I have other shit to do where this isn't the only thing, because our jobs are not conducive to being healthy. Like, I think for SAG, like, we need to do more with mental health stuff, specifically for actors, and what comes with auditioning, because that's not normal. Sitting in a room with other people and like a casting director's having a fucking salad, driving her. She's like, okay, go. You're like, what? You know, and there's always, you know, you go to a room and there's 7 different actors sitting across from you. You shoot this thing that you care about and then you don't make the cut. Like that happens. And I think, and then there's this other side of it where the more successful you are, the more well-known you are. It's not normal to be a famous person, I don't think. It's not normal to walk out and get all these photos of you. And so I really try and mind my mental so that as an actor, I'm still grounded. And I think even though I do all the shloopy-doopy stuff on TV, I try and keep Gabby really grounded somewhere in like that.
Because the years, I'm reflecting on what you're saying, because it's the years and years and years of rejection.
Yes.
And then suddenly you get something and you're like, there, I made it to the top of the mountain.
You're like, no, you didn't.
No. You need to get on down there.
Yes.
And you work yourself back up and you work yourself back up and you're like, yes, I'm there. And even if you do, no, you're not. And even if you do get there, when you get there, you're like, oh, this is it.
That's right.
That I want.
That's right.
This is
It's a series of smaller
bullshit.
rooms that you're like, this is just as the worst as the other ones.
This is not what I thought.
So I just think we need to talk about like our jobs and what we're actually doing. You know, there is this cliche of being an actor, of like it's this glamorous thing, and it's like, no, actually it's really hard, and we have to stay open for us to do our jobs really well. So we're really excited. And then let's not even talk about shitty acting teachers. There are so many, and I've also done all that. There, especially I grew up here. There's so many that are just like dicks, and you're open. And there's like this whole like, oh, this is this method. And they're just like sitting in the front being a piece of shit. And they're breaking you apart. And then you just go about your day. And, you know, there's our industry isn't regulated in that way.
No, there's a lot of, and also shitty scene partners. And
Oh my God, my God. Do you ever, sometimes... You know those 3 a.m. moments where you're like having the anxiety of what you've done as an actor and you like, and then you like have to go pee and then you try and go to sleep again. I've had so many like shitty acting class scene partner guys. And then you know in the class when they just book something and everyone's like, they just booked so-and-so and they're on the ride.
How did they book
That's right.
They're terrible.
It's like, what? But we're just doing really hard work.
I have a couple more good questions
Yeah.
that I have to ask you, and I really do want to get to you guys' questions. You guys have some questions for Madame Gappy. I let characters borrow from my life sometimes, but more often than that, I borrow from my character's life. So would you tell me one thing you've let Gabby borrow from you emotionally or integrity or whatever, but something that you've borrowed from Gabby that you've just kind of taken into your life and very quietly owned it? Let's start with the thing you've taken from Gabby first.
I've taken listening from her. She's an empath, I think, and she's a real heart on her sleeve person. And she's very tender. And so in playing her, she's really listening. And I've really taken that from her in my day-to-day. When we wrap the season, I find there's a time where I'm a bit unfiltered for about 2 weeks, and I'm like, that's Gabby. I don't need to do that. Where I'm like, why'd you do that? And I'm like, oh no, that's Gabby. That's not. Don't say that. So I do have like there's a Gabby mode, but definitely listening. I take that from her, and then what I give her is I give her everything. I taught her everything she knows. I give her the moments. Like I think we dodge cliches by attacking things with specificity as actors. I think that's every line of dialogue, every sort of moment, every on-screen kiss. If you're specific with it, you completely dodge tropes. And so I try and color her with every single line. I like to just give options. And what I'm thinking of is them in the edit. And I'm like, okay, Bill, when you're sitting there, I want you to have every option for this. And so I just give her rhythm. I get that girl her rhythm.
She got her rhythm.
Yeah.
I love how we're constantly referring to, like, you're talking about singing and rhythm. And like, I do think so much of ensemble work is orchestra symphony work, where you understand when it's time for you to do your solo, when it's time for you to lean back in the cut, play the thing or play the thing or whatever. I love that because I think ensemble work on television is some of the best storytelling that we have. And I'm a big proponent of inclusive storytelling. I think that is what our world looks like now, more so than ever. And we get the opportunity to come into people's homes, which I think is why streaming television is so incredibly popular, why people constantly subscribe to this service and that service and that service and Apple TV Plus, Apple TV Plus, and Apple TV Plus.
Hey.
Where's Annie over there? Apple TV Plus. You only go, but we
Annie,
really
report that back.
we only really subscribe to Apple TV Plus.
Report that back so they can add it to our glam budget. Tell them give us a little bump.
I
want a limousine. I don't want a limousine. But
do they even have limousines
I don't think so.
anymore?
I don't think so.
Jessica,
I did for the shrinking premiere. I got a party bus.
You
It was
did?
pretty fun, yeah.
Oh my God.
It was really fun. I wanted one with some poles. They were like, "Do you want a Sprinter van?" Like Apple came back, was like, "You mean a Sprinter van?" I was like, "No, I want a party bus. I want screens." And it was a real blast this last season.
Okay, this is my last, and I'm going to get to one of my questions over here, which are falling down. So, Jessica, you've been nominated for a bunch of awards. You have been nominated for a bunch. I know you're cringing right now.
I clinched.
Emmys for your work on Shrinking and a Critics' Choice Award. She actually won her Critics' Choice Award.
Yeah, thank you.
You can clap for that.
Thank you.
You have this beautiful way of committing to nuance and affecting performances, and at the same time refusing to take yourself too seriously. I've had the great privilege of going to a award show and seeing Jessica there. Where does that come from?
Oh.
How do you balance everything? How do you stay so? I mean, I heard you talk about your friends and having a life outside of the industry, but going to those award shows, they're so kind of like, how do you balance it all?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I got it from my parents. They're really goofy. They're just goofy. And I was talking to Damon last night because Damon Wayans Jr. is obsessed with Ted McGinley also because Ted's just goofy.
He's funny.
He's so funny. And he makes you feel like you are two kids in the back of the class in high school. And he's saying all these jokes with a twinkle in his eye. And it's really, I feel so lucky that I know him.
There aren't a lot of actors out there like that.
No, but it comes through. It comes through
so
on
comes
screen.
through.
But we were talking about why he's so great. And I just like goofy people. I like it. I don't like when things are too serious. I find I can have a couple friends that are really serious, but it's not fun to me. I like having fun and I like being playful. That's my instinct because the world is like a really shocking place. And I feel like sometimes you're getting so many notifications about what Trump did. You just have to be like, ha ha ha. Like you just have to. You have to, because I can't.
The breaking news will break you.
Yeah, 1 million people deport. You're like, ha, 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 and it's like, but it helps. Like, it's just like not taking it seriously. And also, like, I found in the most profoundly sad moments of my life, things have been very funny. That's when things have been the funniest, like at a funeral. That's why there's so many comedies that take place at a funeral. Things are really funny.
People are funny at funerals.
They are. And weddings, like you really, like everyone's showing out. Like a woman's laying on the casket. There's like a baby mama you didn't know about. Like, it's like, what is happening? At my grandma's funeral, like
who are you?
They're like, nobody knows, but he's in here. I have a cousin who's always hustling and like selling like, I don't know, herbal shakes or some weird shit. And at my grandma's funeral, like 5 years ago, I remember he got up and was like crying and said his remarks and then was trying to sell like herbs if anybody in the family wanted to get their body right. And it was just like, it was so funny. And so I always like to just have that. And I love people that are like that. And so I try and
surround
keep
yourself.
That. Yeah, because we get so serious and vote for me, please. But you know, awards, it's like what a joke. But vote for me, please. But no, it's not that. It's not that serious. Like it's like just everybody be cool. And then there's trends. You know, there's years where the same show wins an award, and you're just like, oh yeah, like that's what's gonna win. That's a great show. But it's just nice to be here. Yeah. Vote for me. I don't know. Vote for and the whole
pleasure
show.
to be nominated.
Yes,
Please,
that's right.
It's an honor.
That's right.
Okay, I'm gonna get to one of these questions because you are like.
I want everybody to be able to get outside and enjoy
the hot. Oh my God.
It's like now it's like irritating heat, where we just quickly zoomed.
We kind of talked about your training.
Yeah, just improv and sketch, and in the Daily Show, that was an example of learning.
It's like
on
a
the
school.
job.
Yeah, it was that kind of felt like a school of sorts.
And the training was failing. The training is, I do jokes that aren't funny like all the time, and even with shrinking, like we do stuff that doesn't work all the time. It's just you don't have to be perfect when you get to set. It's like they'll choose what works. But if you're brave and you're brave enough to fail, which I do at this point with comedy, in this medium, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to make this stupid joke. If you don't like it, don't use it. And then I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
But the training was being comfortable with failure.
Yeah, just
on screen.
putting it out
and the boom
there.
guy's going to see it and the camera guy's going to see it. Making moves is really scary, like comedy moves and just going for it. Yeah. But once you divorce yourself from results and you're just like, well, that joke wasn't that funny. Ha ha ha. And then you just go on to the next joke.
Yeah.
That's how you get a good, I think that's how you get a good performance.
That's on the job training.
100%.
Failing is
100%.
Yeah.
And if they're like this director or these writers that are like, you can't fail. It's like, you're a dork. Like they're a dork. Like, yeah, that's not how it works. That's if you want good work.
You have a great room you're working in, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. Thank
This
you.
is my last question. Yeah. You could do it. Do you have any advice on how often you check in with your agent and new ways to be proactive about getting booked on roles?
That's a great
proactive
question.
About getting booked on roles you are going after.
That's a great question. Right now, Black actress, like 100% Black too, not mixed. Did
y'all hear about the Pope? Go ahead.
Everyone's like, the Pope is from Chicago.
Pope is from Haiti, honey.
Right.
Yeah.
They're
He's got some Creole.
That's right. He got some. We're claiming. We're claiming.
No, we gonna claim Leo.
We claim it in the name of Jesus. But again, it's like there's a difference between being a mixed race actress that's Black and then being a.
You're right.
You're right. A lot of the mixed girls are working. But the business is really hard right now coming out of the pandemic and the strike and just the streamers just cracking down on streamers' art. And it's really hard. And I think you check in with your agent as much as you need to feel comfortable. And if you don't get that feeling that they believe in you, like, no. You can't pay someone enough to care. And I feel really lucky because I've had the same agent since I was 22 and I'm 36 and my team has like expanded and
you look good, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I've had the same agent since I was 22, so about 14 years. And I can't I signed with someone that is like white and like he looks scary, which I really like on my behalf, but also he's sweet, but he really cares about his clients. And you can't pay someone to care. You can give an agent $1 million and they'll promise you all this shit, but if they don't give a shit about you, then you're toast. And so to me, I like to have a personal relationship with my agents and make sure that we're on the same page, but that's just what I require as Jessica Williams. Like I need to feel like we know each other. But I had a call with my agents like 6 months ago where I was like, I need to see more jobs. I'm not seeing any. And they were like, oh, shit. And now since then, I've been getting more stuff. But I definitely had to have a phone call with them of like, what's going on? But then they also keep it real with me where they're like, honestly, like it's hard because diversity initiatives are like kind of over right now. And that's true. Oops, sorry. But you guys saw how the election went. So I use that as my barometer of like, oh, right, this is the other side of Barack Obama being president that we're dealing with. But it is reflecting in our industry. So you're not crazy if you're queer or a person of color. It's like actually what's happening right now is that there are less jobs and they're just casting straight white guys again. No, it's true. It's true. It's like, what? But you're not nuts. It's just a different time now than it was about 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I agree with everything Jessica said. Just pick your fights, pick your battle.
Yeah, that too.
But don't be afraid to confront a difficult situation with your agent. You don't
be
have,
kind and still
you
be
don't have
kind,
to be
yeah.
confrontational.
Yeah.
But you do need to confront it.
Yeah.
this has been so extraordinary.
Oh,
Down,
thank you.
Talking with
Thank you
Jessica
guys for
Williams.
coming.
Thank you
I
for
appreciate
coming.
it.
Please make sure you are supporting the SAG Foundation, not just by coming to these events, but also every dollar counts. Thank you so much, because we are stronger together. Thank you so much.